Here with reaction. Former Marine. Well, he's never a former Marine. Marine, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. Sir, I think you Semper Fi, Colonel. Good to see you. You know a lot about Iran. You've dealt with this part of the world. You went there and you were given by your government, our government, a pill, were you not, when you went to Iran? And wasn't that pill cyanide to take if you needed to kill yourself?
5 or 6 of them,
yeah. So you know a thing or two about the region. I'm glad you didn't, too.
Yeah. So's my wife and my kids and my 18 grandkids. First of all, Sean, my heart goes out to my prayers for the families and loved ones of Sergeants Rivers and Sanders and Moffett, who were killed in action. I mean, we need to remember those words. They're heroes. Here we are on the edge of Black History Month. And we have 3 black soldiers, brave men and women, a brave man and 2 women, who put their lives on the line. The definition of a hero, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, is a person who puts themselves at risk for the benefit of others. And they certainly did. By going over there, they certainly weren't over there for the administration. They took the same oath I did when I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1961, December 29th. To support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to bear true faith and allegiance to same. And at the end of it, the words, "So help me God." That oath has changed very little since it was first begun back in the era of the American Revolution. And I look at what they just sacrificed, the lives that they lost, the 8 that were terribly wounded are now on their way to Landstuhl, Germany, or already there, hopefully, and maybe coming back to the States for further treatment, and the 30-some-odd others who are wounded, and along with 100+ who've already been wounded in over 160 attacks that this administration has all but ignored. I mean, I wrote the quote down from what the Secretary of Defense said, that, quote, we're going to now take care of our necessary actions to defend the United States, our troops, and our interests. Well, that's a change in policy, because we haven't done it yet. The only risk that the Iranians were taking with the word don't repeated, which didn't stop anything. In fact, they did. And they're going to continue to do so until measures are taken. I'll give you 5 of them that I'm sure aren't in what their package is. Here it is. We're now being told they're going to act, okay? 5 things. Oval Office announcement. After the raid is safely back, just like Ronald Reagan did after the raid in Libya back in 1981, okay? All sanctions against the regime in Iran that have been pulled back are immediately enforced. Oil exports, steel, dual-use electronics, financial transfers, and no more secret meetings in Vienna to assure somehow resurrecting the phony nuclear deal. Number 2, bans on fracking and strategic drilling and on our federal lands and filling up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve need to start now. And he ought to tell everybody that. That will get the attention, by the way, of a guy named Z. The Americans are going to refill their Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And the Congress needs to say, no more of this using it for political purposes. It's there for that kind of infrastructure that we're going to need if, God forbid, there is a war. The theocracy in Tehran needs to be told. The next time a U.S. installation is attacked, a U.S. personnel, a U.S. ship, we're going to hold the Tehran regime responsible. And we're going to act, quote, with devastating effect to shut down, and here's the thing that's left off the table, to shut down their ability to export oil. It's the only way they're making any money right now. The United States ought to indict every single leader of any proxy group and do so that they have a little bit of a caution before they travel all over the world advertising their wares. And though we don't have an extradition agreement with the folks in Qatar, Interpol ought to put their faces up on post office boxes all over America. Finally, in days like this, we need to keep our allies close. And last week, on January 26th, this Biden, as you call it, the appeaser-in-chief, announced that we're going to pause in new approvals for export of liquefied natural gas to others who are our friends. The only reason they're not buying Iranian oil right this minute in the quantities that they could, because the prices are way down, the only reason they're not is because we've been shipping liquefied natural gas. It's one of our great commodities. It will help our balance of trade. It's going to help all kinds of people. And this guy just put the brakes on those kinds of approvals. And everybody in Europe's got to be saying, what are we going to do to stay warm? Natural gas is the way they're keeping their lights on and their homes warm. This guy has got to, he's got to start thinking strategically about things, not just tactically for political purposes. This administration is going to get us into World War III by not deterring people like the Iranians.
Well, last thing, Colonel, and I don't have a lot of time here, is if you want to knock out their income and the source of their income, and that is their oil, why not take out the refineries? Yeah. And I'll tell you this, Donald Trump pulled something together that I didn't think I'd see in my lifetime, and that was an alliance between Israel and the United States and the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Saudis, and the Emirates against Iranian hegemony. I would argue that those countries probably, if they were wise, would unite and have a pact to unite together and take out their nuclear facilities before it's too late. Because if they get them, I don't trust mutually assured destruction would deter them. Last word.
These guys, this is a suicidal regime. Death is their axiom. That's in that new book that Richard Levine just wrote up. By the way, the title of the book, Pillars for Freedom, and the foreword done by none other than Mike Pompeo. So that's the kind of thing that book advocates, Sean. That's the kind of thing that we ought to be doing. Hopefully what we're going to have is a movement in Congress to say, you've got to stop what you're doing, because what you're doing is going to get us into a war. No appeasement has ever worked. There's got to be real deterrence, and you can only do that by a show of strength.
They almost 200 attacks, Colonel. They didn't do a thing. That made what happened this weekend inevitable, because there was no deterrent factor at all.
Absolutely right.
Colonel North, appreciate you. Safe home, my friend. Good to talk to you.